Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, Trent Dilfer. How you been, Trent?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm better for chatting with you. How's life? How's your family?
Everybody's well. 3 teenage daughters. I'm the one that's struggling. They're doing great. Everybody's healthy and
Terrific.
doing life, and it's football season, so they're all kind of wrapped up in the season like I am.
Yeah, and you're flying all over the country. It's a big game in Cincinnati tonight. What do you expect to see out there on the field between the Texans and the Bengals? Let's start macro with you, Trent.
Well, I really want to see Cincinnati up close again. They're so talented. They seem so complete. And if you're being as good as they are, they should just step on the throats of the Texans. They're at home. They have the energy of the crowd. Obviously, these primetime games are huge for players and coaches. Want to see their best foot forward. And this is the closest thing to a playoff game you get in the regular season. The other team's playing for first place. You're trying to stay undefeated. The pressure isn't the same as the playoffs, but it's close. So how do they respond to that type of pressure? The great teams escalate their play. Let's see if the Bengals are that team, specifically Andy Dalton. I think from the Texans' standpoint, they have so many holes, and they try to mask them different ways. I think Hopkins is exciting. I think he's a budding superstar at wide receiver. Hoyer has actually played really well. He's only thrown 3 interceptions all year, 2 off receivers' hands first. That's probably something that people around the league don't really know. Defensively, they're very unorganized, and they don't play hard. And that's the thing that's really bothersome. As Ray and I looked at this game going into it, and we're talking about it, he's sick to his stomach because, he's all about effort and energy and attitude. And he has a legacy of bringing that out in his teammates. And he's looking at J.J. Watt, who's all about that, who does play hard, who has a great motor, but why isn't he bringing that out in his teammates? There are multiple plays against the Texans where effort alone would have stopped a big game.
Trent, I can't think of a bigger indictment you could make on a team in the National Football League than that.
Exactly. So we want to see their energy level. We want to see how they run to the ball, and they're going to have to run to the ball because the Bengals can come in so many different ways. So I think, globally, those are the big things we're looking at.
Don't you lay that at the feet of the coach if the players don't try hard?
I'm sure it's been I know Billy really well. I know Romeo Crennel, their defensive coordinator.
Sure.
I'm sure it has been addressed a million times. Sometimes, you can't – sometimes guys just don't have the inner drive. And here's the thing. It's not one guy specifically. They take turns. And that's the thing that I guess you're not giving a hall pass, but you're not seeing one guy continue to low. If you're seeing a guy or two here or there, that's allowing them to get gashed. And all 11 have to play snap to whistle every single play of the game because they're not good enough to ever get away with the lows.
Trent Dilfer from the Worldwide Leader in Sports joining me here. So now, in light of the foot injury that your compadre Adam Schefter, our good friend, was first to report today about Peyton Manning's foot and plantar fasciitis, would you not say that the Bengals are the only team that could potentially prevent New England from winding up in Santa Clara to hoist the Lombardi Trophy? Trent, is that a fair thing to say right now?
I'm not ready to say it, and here's why. I love the Patriots, and I made the mistake last year of underestimating how they develop players and how they get better throughout the year. But at some point, you can only absorb so many injuries. You can only absorb so many critical injuries as a team. The Patriots, and I've heard 2 different numbers, 16 and 19 different offensive line combinations this year. The Edelman loss is a big loss for however long he's out because it's compounded by the Dion Lewis loss. And I think for people to understand why that's important, because it's not like losing Megatron, right? It's not like losing Julio Jones. But what the Patriots' passing game is based on is isolation matchups. So they formation, motion, shift to where they can get certain players isolated on defenders. Well, those players have to have a certain skill set to win those matchups. And Dion Lewis and Edelman both have twitch. Both are very twitchy guys. Both are tremendous pass catchers, and both are great run after the catch guys. So now you've lost two of them. Well, now the core, the foundation of your offense, how you build it, you've just taken two giant hits in the last few weeks. I still think they'll be good offensively. I still think they're a very good team, obviously. I just don't think they're going to be as dominant without those two guys. So now you've brought in the opportunity for other teams to beat you. And to say they're a lock for Santa Clara, I'm not willing to go there now with their offensive line issues and with those two injuries.
How does this end game scenario with Peyton Manning play out then over the next 10 weeks, Trent? Crystal ball it.
Yeah, I think you got to give him a break. You've created enough of a cushion in your division to where, and Brock showed enough yesterday, I think, to manage the offense and make some plays. I think you got to get him somewhat healthy. And now he's old, and some of these injuries aren't going to go away forever. But look how good he played off the bye a few weeks ago. Get him rested, get him feeling fresh, get his mind fresh again. I mean, it's burdensome when you're one of the greatest players to ever put on cleats and you're playing bad football. So he needs to step away, get healthy, have a renewed perspective of the game for a few weeks. I think he comes back a better version of Peyton Manning than we've seen. I do think he needs to be managed from the sideline, meaning the play caller, Gary Kubiak, has to, and Dennison in combination, they have to take some of the keys away from Peyton at the line of scrimmage. He can't have the entire offense at his disposal anymore because his mentality, his quarterback DNA is to be hyper-aggressive. He's played that way forever. I don't think there's anybody that studied Peyton Manning more than me. And he will wait for you to get too aggressive, and he will try to knife you. Well, he doesn't have that blade anymore. So you have to kind of take the keys away from him and manage him from the sideline, and then trust late in games and close games on third down and red zone, those critical downs. He's got enough to be able to win you those games.
Trent Dilfer from ESPN. He'll be on Monday Night Countdown, 6 Eastern tonight on ESPN right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are you seeing about Aaron Rodgers? What's happened to the Packers offense?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. It's a snowball effect. Simplest form is the Jordy Nelson injury in the preseason is now you're starting to see how it affects them. They don't have a dominant press coverage man-beating guy on the perimeter. Cobb can do it in the slot, but there's a different element in the slot. When you're playing bump and run in the slot, you're usually funneling that player to another help defender, an inside linebacker, a safety coming down in a lurk situation, another defender's passing somebody off. So you don't get gashed in the slot when you bump. On the perimeter, you don't have a lot of help. And so teams that come up and bump and run you on the perimeter, they're saying, we're not scared of you. And when teams used to do that to the Packers, it was an immediate matchup alert for the Packers. And Jordy would catch the back shoulder, the slant, and the go route. And he would stem those three routes over and over and over and just wear you out versus bump and run coverage. Well, they don't have that anymore. So teams kind of condense the outside. I mean, Devontae Adams had 21 targets yesterday, and I think only 10 catches. Mm-hmm. That's not very good. He's not getting separation. That's a bulldog, by the way, too. I'm talking about a kid that went to my college. But he doesn't have that separation speed. Jones definitely doesn't have the separation ability. So they've lost a massive dynamic there. Teams play them differently. Now they're blitzing him more. Aaron's being blitzed more than ever because they want to get home, and they know the Packers can't win right away. And I think the third element is their play calling has become very stagnant. It's become the quick game and then trusting too much for Aaron to create on his own. And there's not a rhythm and a timing and a multiple route tree to help these guys get open. They've lost their play action game. They've lost their boot game. They've lost so much of what made them diverse, and they're putting too much of a burden on Aaron to say, okay, maybe we get open on 3 and 5 steps, but if we don't, why don't you just run around and do your magic and make plays? And he does, but that's not a consistent way to play football in the NFL. It's almost as though they've reduced Aaron Rodgers to a certain degree to one of these scrambling quarterbacks because they haven't helped him get guys open from the pocket. I think they need more motions, more shifts, more play action, more creativity offensively to help some of these Receivers that don't get great separation get some separation.
Could you just remove the proper names and insert every proper name from Seattle in what you just said and say that's the same issue with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson?
I think Seattle's issue. I don't think Russell Wilson's playing very well. I think their offensive line is terrible. When I say terrible, I think it's terrible, not bad, terrible. They don't move people in the run game. They cannot hold up in protection, especially versus five-man rushes. Their inside players are what we call box players. They play good if it's in a box, but as soon as it becomes a speed game, they're done. They reach, they bend from the waist. They're belly benders, so their bellies are facing the line, facing the ground where they have no balance. They actually do get. Baldwin's one of the most underrated players in this league. Baldwin is open consistently against anybody he faces.
Okay.
Russell doesn't get him the ball on time enough. They've lost their identity. I've been pounding this drum since we were in Seattle. I can't believe Seattle hasn't figured out what their identity is offensively with Jimmy Graham. He's not a tight end. He shouldn't be called a tight end. He should be called an H-back or a wide receiver. He refuses to block. So when he's in the game, attached to the line of scrimmage, they just can't run block. The offensive line is, like I said, not very good, and the tight end or Jimmy Graham gets caved in. So they really don't even try to call runs in that situation. So now they're predictable. When he lines up there, they throw the ball. When he's in the game, pretty much they throw the ball, or they detach him from the line of scrimmage to kind of get him away from the formation and run it. Then they bring in the big fullback 46 to play some tight end, and the other tight ends to run the ball. So you kind of know it's run. So you see different defensive fronts and coverage profiles to stop the run. I feel bad for Darrell Bevell, because the offense coordinator there, because he was given this guy, Jimmy Graham, saying, hey, he's going to cure all our ills, and all he's really done is create more of a confusion for Darrell Bevell on how to call offense.
I got one more minute for you, Trent. Is it fair to say that tonight, of the four most consistently successful quarterbacks this year, you see one tonight on ESPN and Andy Dalton. We saw one in New Jersey yesterday in Brady. There's one in Carolina in Cam, and the way Carson Palmer's balling out in Arizona, he's the fourth. Did I miss anything?
I think Carson's more of an MVP candidate than even Cam Newton, and I love Cam Newton. I think he's playing great football. I think what Carson does in Arizona, what Carson has done in Arizona is remarkable. I think they're the second best team in football to the Patriots, and I'm not even sure the Patriots, if they get even more banged up, will be the best by the end. I think the synergy there, it's this perfect synergy between super aggressive, I don't give a crap head coach Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer, who was born to be aggressive as a passer. I mean, that's how he's played since he was in high school in Orange County. He loves to chunk the ball down the field. They're this perfect blend. The team believes in him as much as any quarterback in the league. If he still stays healthy, I think my money is on Arizona to be in Santa Clara.
Trent, I can't have you on enough. I love you and miss you. I'm going to be asking for you. As soon as you hang up the phone, you're going to get another request to come back on this show. So look out for it.
Let's do it again, but I'm glad my travel accommodated our opportunity to do this.
You bet. Say hi to everybody there for me, okay?
See you, pal. Thanks for all you've done for me, too.
Oh,
I don't
please.
think people understand how much you've done for me. Thank you.
Trent, you're the man. I love you. That's Trent Dilfer. That's at TDESPN on Twitter. That guy, I love him.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.